The sun beat down mercilessly on the dusty road as Commander Sarah Blackwood adjusted her sunglasses, scanning the horizon with practiced vigilance. At 49, her weathered face told the story of her 29 years as a Navy SEAL, one of the first women to complete the brutally demanding training, and certainly one of the few to serve for nearly 3 decades. Today, she wore civilian clothes, cargo pants, a light button-up shirt, and hiking boots, her military bearing the only hint of her background. Sarah was driving through the remote backroads of eastern Afghanistan, officially on leave, but unofficially gathering intelligence for an upcoming operation. Her rental vehicle, a battered Toyota that blended perfectly with local traffic, kicked up clouds of dust as she navigated the uneven terrain. The mountains loomed in the distance, their majesty belying the dangers hidden within their valleys and caves. 3 satellite phones and a hidden sidearm were her only connections to her former life as she played the role of an aid worker surveying locations for a new medical outpost. The deception came naturally after years of covert operations. Her Pashto was fluent enough to get by, and her cover story was airtight, vetted by intelligence officers who had spent their careers crafting such narratives. As the road narrowed between 2 rocky outcroppings, Sarah's instincts flared. She slowed the vehicle, eyes darting to the rearview mirror where a black SUV had appeared, closing the distance rapidly. Too new, too clean for these parts. Her hand moved instinctively toward her concealed Sig Sauer as she assessed her options. The radio crackled with static before falling silent again. She'd lost signal 20 minutes ago. Standard procedure would be to continue to the next checkpoint before reporting in. Colonel Eileen Collins had drilled that into her during her first deployment. Maintain protocol even when alone. The SUV was now riding her bumper, flashing its lights aggressively. Sarah maintained her speed, playing the role of a confused civilian while mentally mapping the terrain ahead. There was a wadi to the east that could provide cover if she needed to abandon the vehicle, and the ridge to the west offered high ground. The first impact came without warning. The SUV rammed her rear bumper, sending her vehicle fishtailing. Sarah corrected expertly, but the second hit was harder, forcing her toward the edge of the road. As her vehicle skidded to a stop, she caught glimpses of 3 men exiting the SUV, military boots, tactical pants, and the unmistakable outline of concealed weapons under civilian shirts. Not locals. Not Taliban either. Their movement spoke of formal training as they spread out to approach her vehicle from multiple angles. Sarah recognized the formation. She'd taught it herself at Coronado. "Out of the vehicle now!" The command came in English with an American accent, confirming her suspicions. Sarah raised her hands slowly, playing for time as she identified escape routes and potential weapons. Through her side mirror, she caught a glimpse of a familiar face, someone she hadn't seen in years, someone who shouldn't be here. As she stepped from the vehicle with deliberate caution, the leader approached, a smirk spreading across his face as he raised his weapon. "Meet your end, bitch," he snarled, clearly expecting fear from what he perceived as an easy civilian target. Sarah kept her expression neutral, her body language submissive, even as her mind calculated angles, distances, and the weight of the knife hidden against her ankle. These men had made a critical error in judgment, one they wouldn't live long enough to regret. Sarah's mind flashed to her training under Colonel Eileen Collins as the 3 men surrounded her. The leader, a man she now recognized as Marcus Reeves, a former SEAL who'd been dishonorably discharged 5 years ago, grabbed her arm roughly. His 2 companions, both sporting military haircuts and moving with tactical precision, secured the perimeter. "You picked the wrong road today," Reeves sneered, pressing his pistol against her ribs, "hands behind your back." Sarah complied, maintaining her facade of frightened civilian while cataloging their weapons and positions. The taller mercenary carried an M4 carbine poorly concealed under a jacket. The third man, stockier with a scar across his left cheek, held a satellite phone. Her way out if she could reach it. "Check her ID," Reeves ordered, shoving Sarah against the vehicle. As the scarred man approached, Sarah caught a glimpse of a tattoo on his wrist, the insignia of a private military contractor known for recruiting dishonorably discharged special forces. The pieces clicked into place. This wasn't random. They were hunting her specifically.
"Sir, there's nothing here," the man said, rifling through her fabricated aid worker credentials. "Just humanitarian paperwork." Reeves grabbed her by the hair, yanking her head back to study her face. Recognition flickered in his eyes, followed by confusion, then dawning horror. "Well, I'll be damned," he whispered. Commander Blackwood. The other men tense, weapons raising slightly. Sarah maintained her silence, measuring the distance to the knife concealed at her ankle. "Search the vehicle again," Reeves ordered, his voice now tighter. "She's military intelligence." As the taller mercenary turned toward the Toyota, Sarah caught a flash of movement on the ridge above them, a glint of metal in the sunlight. Sniper. Fourth man. The odds had just worsened considerably. "You don't remember me, do you, Commander?" Reeves hissed, pressing the gun harder against her side. "Operation Kingfisher. You testified against me." The memory surfaced. A mission gone wrong, civilians killed, Reeves claiming he had followed orders, while Sarah's testimony had revealed his bloodlust and insubordination. Lieutenant Susan Ann Cuddy had stood beside her during that tribunal, both women facing death threats afterward. "I remember a soldier who dishonored his uniform," Sarah finally spoke, her voice steady. "I remember a coward who blamed others for his failures." The blow came fast, the butt of Reeves' pistol connecting with her temple. Sarah rolled with it, minimizing the damage, but allowing herself to fall to one knee. Blood trickled down her face as she positioned herself closer to her concealed weapon. "The client just wants confirmation," the scarred man said nervously. "We weren't told it would be her." "Client?" Sarah asked, buying time as she assessed the sniper's position. "Who hired you to kill an American aid worker?" Reeves laughed, a hollow sound. "You're not here as an aid worker, Commander. We both know that. The question is, what intelligence are you gathering and for whom?" The taller mercenary returned from the vehicle holding up a satellite phone and encrypted tablet he discovered hidden in a compartment. "Military grade. She's active duty." Reeves' expression darkened. "Change of plans. We take her in alive. The client will pay triple for whatever she knows." As they moved to bind her wrists, Sarah caught sight of a dust cloud on the horizon. Reinforcements. Likely more mercenaries. Time was running out. "I'll give you one chance," she said quietly, meeting Reeves' gaze. "Walk away now." The men laughed, underestimating the woman before them despite knowing her credentials. "You're outnumbered and outgunned," Reeves said, leaning close. "Even Lieutenant Audie Murphy couldn't find his way out of this one." Sarah's muscles tensed, ready. The mention of the legendary war hero, a small man who had single-handedly held off 6 German tanks and dozens of infantry, was ironically appropriate. Like Murphy, Sarah knew that sometimes one soldier was enough to change the tide of battle. As Reeves reached for zip ties, Sarah made her move. Sarah's hand moved with lightning speed, grabbing Reeves' wrist and twisting sharply. The sickening crack of breaking bone was followed by his howl of pain as his pistol clattered to the ground. In the same fluid motion, Sarah dropped to one knee, retrieving her concealed combat knife from her ankle sheath. The taller mercenary swung his M4 toward her, but Sarah was already inside his guard. The knife found the soft spot beneath his body armor, and he crumpled with a strangled gasp. The scarred man managed to fire a wild shot that whistled past her ear before Sarah launched herself at him, using Reeves as a human shield. A sniper round kicked up dust at her feet as Sarah rolled behind the Toyota, dragging the wounded Reeves with her. Blood streamed down her face from the earlier blow, but her eyes remained clear and focused. "Call off your sniper," she commanded, pressing the knife against Reeves' throat. "You're dead anyway," Reeves spat through clenched teeth, cradling his broken wrist. "There's a full team coming. You hear that?" The distant rumble of vehicles grew louder. Sarah's mind flashed to her training with Lieutenant Audie Murphy, whose lessons on using terrain and limited resources against superior numbers had become legendary. She scanned the area, formulating a plan. "Last chance," she told Reeves, her voice deadly calm. "Radio your sniper and tell your reinforcements to stand down." When he merely laughed in response, Sarah made her decision. With surgical precision, she struck Reeves at the base of his skull, rendering him unconscious. Moving with practiced efficiency, she retrieved weapons from both fallen mercenaries and the satellite phone. The sniper fired again, the bullet pinging off the Toyota's frame. Sarah calculated the angle, pinpointing his position on the ridge. She grabbed a smoke grenade from the taller mercenary's tactical vest and deployed it, creating a screen of dense white smoke. Using the cover, she sprinted toward the rocky outcropping to her east, staying low and moving in an unpredictable pattern. The sniper fired twice more, tracking too slowly as Sarah disappeared into the rocks. 20 minutes later, the sniper's body tumbled down the ridge, and Sarah stood in his position, surveying the scene below through his rifle scope. The reinforcements had arrived, 2 more SUVs containing at least 6 additional mercenaries. They secured their wounded comrades, frantically searching the surrounding area. Sarah could have eliminated them all from her vantage point, but that wasn't her mission. Instead, she used the satellite phone to transmit a coded message with her coordinates and the intelligence she'd gathered. Within an hour, the sound of approaching helicopters scattered the remaining mercenaries. As the extraction team secured the area, Colonel Meryl Tenjisdal herself stepped from the lead helicopter, surveying the scene with a mixture of concern and admiration. "Colonel Blackwood," she acknowledged, noting Sarah's blood-streaked face and the captured sniper rifle. "It looks like you've had an eventful leave." "Just a small reunion with some old acquaintances," Sarah replied, handing over the satellite phone containing evidence of the mercenaries' operation and their mysterious client. Later, on board the helicopter, a medic cleaned the gash on Sarah's temple as she debriefed Colonel Tenjisdal on the ambush. "They knew I was coming," Sarah concluded. "Someone in our chain of command is compromised." Tenjisdal nodded grimly. "Which is exactly why this mission was off books. You were the only one I trusted to confirm our suspicions." The intelligence Sarah had gathered revealed a network of former Special Forces operators working for a shadow organization with connections reaching into the highest levels of military command. Her vacation had exposed a conspiracy that threatened national security. 3 weeks later, Sarah stood at attention in a secure briefing room at the Pentagon as Janet Wolfenbarger, the first female 4-star general in the Air Force, pinned a classified commendation to her uniform. "Your actions have prevented incalculable damage to our operations and personnel," the general stated formally, before adding in a lower voice, "and reminded certain individuals that underestimating women in combat remains a fatal error." As Sarah saluted and turned to leave, she caught sight of her reflection in the polished surface of a memorial plaque. 29 years of service had etched lines around her eyes and silver threads through her hair, but had done nothing to diminish the steel in her spine or the resolve in her gaze. Those men had seen only a woman alone on a deserted road. Their last mistake was not recognizing that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one they never suspected.